and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Today we have a very special guest. Most of the viewers, you have loved his videos and his talks and tweets and chats in many forums. He's an author, researcher on a specific area, which is very unique. Like his research on an organization, it's the farm protests, which are actually the farm laws in India were made to support the poor farmers so that they can get the fair price. Earlier, the farmers used to be poor and the landowners used to be very rich. So it's an amazing reform. I mean, from the point of view of reform, if I look at it from the independent point of view, any person who has some common sense will say it's the right thing to do. And the protests are led by nations which have practically zero economic relevance to the whole world. Canada, in point. Some Canadians have joined, so they should also listen to this. So what do you have to say about them? Because if Canada is today led by people who are very weak, and I have no shame in saying that, because they're very weak people and very ignorant
intellectually or
financially also. I call Canada as the 51st state of United States, and the 52nd I call Mexico, and 53rd United Kingdom. The three are the three tertiary states of US. So when you talk about Canada, like practically there's every single joke in northern US is on Canada. And so why will Canada do such thing? And it's a direct government interference and in Indian affairs. It's not even people, it's the government directly supporting it. So why will they do that according to you, and what message should be given to them?
see, actually, it's very funny that India was criticized for walking out of WTO or WTO pacts when it refused to cow down on the issue of MSP for the farmers or
Correct.
subsidies for the farmers. And then again, it was criticized during RECAP negotiation when it walked out because it would hurt the dairy industry and the other few farming industries because of the open trade agreements and because of all this. And imagine Canada itself has farm support systems. So to criticize India about MSP, which was where they were criticizing India for MSP and walking out of WTO, everybody was supporting liberal economists and political thinkers told Modi has spoiled the atmosphere and it has walked out of WTO. Final people had to agree. So India has been supporting poor farmers. It has been at the same time supporting ecological issues, and also it has gone faster than others in Paris Accord on the environmental issues. And for Canada to speak out that, I see only compulsion they have got alliance with a political party which has got leaders who are also supporting Khalistan movement, which is a discredited movement and which has no major support in India. And to use that particular platform when farmers were protesting, I would come to why they're protesting on a different point. But point is that when they started using it, so we might say that definitely farmer protesters are not Khalistanis, but it is equally true that Khalistani elements widely supported from outside and a few people in within India, have used it, they have misused it to spread its own ideas. Because if you remember, for some years they've been talking of referendum 2020 about Khalistan. It did not succeed. Then COVID came and they have not found any footing anywhere, whether US or Canada, despite every kind of poisonous propaganda they have done. So this farmer protest was used by them as a vehicle. And because this government of Canada depends on support of those people, it found it convenient to support them. It's typical political alliance game that we actually criticize in India. And we thought that Canadian system, or we are told that the Western democratic systems are much more mature and they don't get into these kind of opportunistic alliances. So this is typical opportunistic political alliance which forces the PM of Canada to support such people. There is no other reason, because we have seen worse kind of violence in Capitol Hills. We have seen even worse kind of violence in Black Lives Matter. And similarly, I don't think I have liked Canada a lot. I've gone there thrice. It's a wonderful country. And before this new so-called liberal regime came, I had found relations between Muslims and Hindus and various communities very good. One of the best relations I've seen. Society is very open to each other. But now this political game of vote banks is what has destroyed that atmosphere. And because Hindus are not assertive there, they have not created their own vote bank kind of politics where the other parties will bow down to them. And because in spite of this, Trudeau lost support and he had to go to these Khalistani supporters. That is the reason, and I think they will realize their folly, and I will not get into any bitter denouncing why they behave like that. But it is a little bit of hypocrisy and irony that they are talking of these things on which they actually earlier criticized India for supporting farmers. As far as farmer bills are concerned, you will be surprised that Indian farming, there has been no reform since 1960s. There are some reform when the dairy industry was organized in a better way, but nothing happened in the typical cereals and grain market, or what we call the traditional agriculture sector. So from 1960, the socialist path of evolution, even after the evolution to an open society, free enterprise society in 1991-92, this reform just kept on lagging because the major player in this anti-farmer protest. I am a Punjabi. I know what Punjab does. In fact, I wrote an article about farm reforms, whether do or not. Problem with Punjab is much more deeper. See, there is free light, electric power. There is free water, so they can keep on wasting it. There is subsidized farm, what you call fertilizer, etc. So they will produce the grains which are not suitable to the soil. Punjab doesn't have monsoon. It doesn't have ideal soil for rice. It was done during the Green Revolution. Now, groundwater is getting depleted. Soils are getting saline. More and more fertilizer is used. People are getting cancer. The boring wells collapse. And there is a train which goes in Punjab from Batenda, place there, to a town in Bikaner in Rajasthan. It is called cancer train. Do you know that? And
Oh,
hundreds of people go to Bikaner for their cure. And imagine a prosperous state like Punjab doesn't have a good cancer hospital. So this kind of strange farming practices which are followed in Punjab, which are not suitable for their own people, what you see in Punjab is very artificial wealth today. I had seen it during the Green Revolution, the rising prosperity and the wonderful atmosphere. But as the things change, environment changes, and the farming practices, if they expect the government to keep on supporting the same farming practices, it will be a disaster for Punjab. What is Punjab today? Most of the people want to go out of Punjab. All these Canadians, all these Khalistanis did go out of Punjab, isn't it? Why did they go out? Because they found it very oppressive. It didn't have many economic opportunities. Industry is nearly zero now. Although it was one of the best industries in Jalandhar and Ludhiana. So this kind of lopsided approach, because of subsidies where the grains which are being produced are not suitable for the soil and the people, and then on the other side, when 90% procurement is done from Punjab and a bit from Haryana, there are other rice producing and wheat producing states from where the procurement is very low. So what are they trying to save is status quo. They are trying to use the same socialist policies to keep fattening at the cost of other states and their farmers. And that is the reason for this major farmer protest, because nobody talks about the provisions of bill, because mandi system is not being stopped, what we call agriculture produce markets, nothing being stopped, only new facilities and new avenues are being opened. Can you imagine if you are living 2 kilometers of one border of a district within Punjab, you may have to go to 20 kilometers other side because the agriculture market at 2 kilometers falls in another district. Can we have such a strange anachronistic system where a farmer has to travel 40 kilometers to another market because that is in his district, but cannot go to a neighboring district or not to neighboring state? So this has to go. Contract farming is already happening in Punjab, in many other states. Only this new law makes it much more safer for the farmer. But what is the propaganda? That traders will take away the land. There is no clause at all about taking away the land. So just like CA protest, just totally based on faulty premises, fakehood, and untruths. This particular bills have also fallen into propaganda, politics, and wrong presentation of facts. And I think as people slowly realize, this protest should wither away. I do not know how much time it will take, but definitely this is purely misrepresentation of facts, because people are fattened over a period of time on inefficiency of the state, on the very close lobby between the agents and the politicians, where they make money and they dictate the terms. There are bills I've seen in Maharashtra where the farmer goes, he's given very poor rate. So if he sells some fruits at 600 rupees, ultimately by cutting all the charges, he gets a total payment of 300 rupees. Just 2 days back, a farmer threw away 10 tons of vegetables because he was not getting good price, or the price outside on the open market was at least 10 times more, or about 4 to 5 times more. So this is the anomaly that has to go. And that is what this new law is trying to bring in. Definitely you can talk, but you cannot start a talk by saying first scrap all the laws. It was passed by parliament. So we cannot allow a mobocracy to take out democracy. What has happened during since 2019 especially, because they know they cannot defeat Mr. Modi through democratic means, they are trying to bring democracy to level of democracy on the roads, and trying to defeat the very purpose of what democracy is for. So you have bills coming parliament, passed by parliament, and accepted by the president, and also after discussion which started in 2003. So after 20 years of discussion during BJP government, during Congress government, during the United Front governments of coalitions, you still believe that more talks are to be done? Every committee has given the same recommendation. In fact, there is a gentleman I read today who refused to be part of a committee in 2017, saying, I've already given the same ruling. This committee will say the same. So why are you sitting over it? So this refusal to bite the bullet is what has made the agricultural people who do agriculture suffer so much, that there are suicides, there are farmers who always remain in utter poverty. Only some people, middlemen, making the money, including politicians and the agents. So this has to stop. So this is a war of ideas between people who want a government which wants to liberate the farming community from the stranglehold of a few people who have enjoyed the typical control of the state government, where the middlemen make more money than the actual producer, where they find it very difficult to have their farms being done, profitable. There are farmers who have moved out of new agriculture practices. They have followed very good practices, and they're making very good money. That's happening in Maharashtra. That is happening in Madhya Pradesh. So we have to realize, we have to understand that the laws have to change, because you cannot live by the rules of 1960s. Once we understand that, and once we understand the politicians who are instigating these farmers, when they say that you must drop the bills at themselves, then what is there to talk about? You want to go back to 1960s? What do you want? Do you want to live on? You want to see what is the happening is that the left typically wants us not to work hard, doesn't want to work hard, doesn't want industry, but they want all the facility of the USA. That is the reason communist leaders, all children go to USA, enjoy life there. In fact, many of them settle there, and they tell us you must remain in poverty because that is what communism wants. So this idea, poverty of ideas, where you want to stick to the ideology which lost relevance across the world, including their new fatherland, China and North Korea, they want to insist on same policies which others have jettisons, but because that suits them, they will send their children outside, just like Khalistanis will do the same thing, and they will go out, but they will want something here. Khalistanis don't have the courage to say that Ranjit Singh had Lahore as capital. We want Nanak sir, and that's Guru Nanak's place, and for that we will need that part of also as a part of Khalistan. They will not speak because they are being controlled by Pakistan. So this horrible hypocrisy that you talk of Khalistan, while half of Punjab that was the original Raja Ranjit Singh's, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, falls into Pakistan today. Sikh women, girls are being abducted, uh, converted, raped, and these people have no tongue. They can't speak against them because they are financed by Pakistan. So once we understand all this interaction, how everything merges into each other, we realize that this is a much bigger game. When you have uh, riot toolkit being distributed to through Google Docs, and you have people collaborating from Mumbai, from Germany, from Sweden, from US, from various places to create a complete toolkit about how to create disturbances in India, you realize there is something bigger going on. Nothing to do with farmers' bills, nothing to do with even Khalistan, I would say, because they are out to create some kind of publicity, because they are not finding enough echo with what they are talking about. So that is the reason now they are coming the front men. But farmers, if they are misgiving, they could have talked to the government. But these people simply want no talk. They want things to deteriorate. If this goes off, they start something else. If you read the Google Doc carefully, you'll find that even if this farmer bills go, we'll keep on agitating. So idea is to destroy the very essence of democracy in India, and bring in mobocracy, because these people thrive on anarchy. We know that. So that is what has we have seen a little taste of that in US also. But I hope we as well US come out of it very soon.
You gave a very detailed answer on that, and I think you opened eyes of many who are watching it right now. I think Ratan Sharda, thank you so much for coming, and it's a pleasure to always
Thanks.
host you. And
Thank you.
such a wealth of information, and it is very true what you explained about the farmers' protest, and the real Punjab, the Mahabharat name is Panchnad, is right there, which Maharaj Ranjit Singh conquered, and I think that should be the next step of India to get back the original Punjab, because the land which is called Punjab today is not the Panchnad of ancient Mahabharat.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
It was a adjoining district, but not the main part is
So,
what is.
see what has happened, that there is challenges of changing the entire way Punjab has grown. It is now on a lower curve unless the political leaders understand this. Whether there is a new farm bill or old farm bill, impoverishment of Punjab will continue. It was number one or two state, now it's number 13 because of these strange rules and the laws that the politicians follow in Punjab. The Chief Minister of Punjab did not allow this farm bills to be implemented in Punjab, but he has sent Punjab farmers to Delhi border, and he can create his own laws. He will not do that, knowing the danger of disruptive forces which you saw in 1980s, and knowing that once you inflame the passions, it can go either way. It can even burn you like it burned Akali Dal and Congress when it happened in 1980s. We don't seem to learn from history. Otherwise, why should all the youth of Punjab want to go out of Punjab? We were a thriving economy. We were a wonderful, happy, joyous place where everybody wanted to go. I used to love to go to Punjab every 2, 3 months. But when I went last, I was very disappointed because the environment is so corrosive. I know of people, my nephew teaches there. He says, he's a headmaster. He says, I tell top scoring boys and girls that you can do wonders in India also, Punjab also. They say, no, sir, bahar jana hai. So this urge to go out, why? Because there is something amiss. Unless we accept that and we find new ways, whether it's agriculture or industry, we will go downhill. So whether laws or no laws, there is need to fundamentally look at how we need to grow as agriculture state and move on to better economic activities along with agriculture. That is the solution, not fighting on the streets.
So true. I think that's what democracy means, is that you civil in a civil way discuss things out, and when the government is so open to talk about it, then why there is a need to get on the streets to hurt people? With that, we'll come to an end of this show. Thank you, viewers, for watching it. Do
Thank you.
watch it on YouTube again if you would like the recording, and comment over there. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Aditi ji. And thanks to all the people watching live.
Thank you.